This is Shine On Policycast, Solar Power Europe's podcast dedicated to EU policy about solar, with updates in 20 minutes or less. So welcome to this new episode of Shine On Policycast. Today I'm here with Anett Ludwig, our Head of Supply Chains here at Solar Power Europe. And today we are talking about the EU Solar Charter. It's now 1 year since the signing of the charter. It was signed by 23 member states just across the road here in Brussels, and around 100 companies endorsed it too, with research institutes and solar associations. So welcome, Anett.
Thank you for having me.
So remind us, what exactly is the Solar Charter? What are its commitments?
Yes, you're correct. So you already made a good introduction. The Solar Charter was signed 1 year ago and set a set of voluntary actions to support the EU manufacturing base. Mm-hmm. And we know that solar is the fastest growing source in Europe, but at the same time, the manufacturing base is in crisis. So member states and industry committed to, for example, to apply non-price criteria on resilience, sustainability and innovation in tenders and public procurement, to support solar tech like agri-PV or build integrated PV, to expand EU-based production with more EU-made products in the supply chain, and to accelerate EU funding and state aid to support investments. It also set up a dedicated member states task force under the European Solar Charter, where member states could exchange how to best implement non-price criteria, and to explore for the European Commission the possibility of important project of common European interest for the solar sector.
Okay, so it's really about finding all of those avenues for Europe, for member states to support avenues to financing and off-tech for European manufacturers.
Yes.
So that was 1 year ago. We've been monitoring its impacts, and we had a half-term report back in October at 6 months sort of anniversary. What were our takeaways at that point?
Yes, you're right. In October last year, we published our State of Play report for support for solar manufacturing, where we analyzed both the support on the European level and on the national level for solar manufacturing. And I would say the European Commission has delivered with the Net Zero Industry Act. We saw that several member states have acted under the European Solar Charter commitment with introducing national support schemes like the Pact in France that was announced, the financial support pact in Spain, the tax credit scheme Piano Transizione 5.0 in Italy, or the resilience bonus in Austria. And the result of the support literally said that we see a positive action in the right direction for solar manufacturing across the member states, but it's very unevenly spread and not at the desired level. Because we see that many manufacturers are in crisis, and that is why we are asking for a sound solar PV industrial strategy on the European level.
So to really take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And since October, have we seen much change from the member states?
That's a good question. I mean, back to the European level, we have now the implementing acts that had been adopted last week from the member states.
For the Net Zero Industry Act.
Exactly, for non-price criteria in renewable energy auctions and the list of net zero components in order to measure resilience. And the aim is to reach the 30 gigawatt target until 2030. But going back to the member states, I can share 2 examples. So the one is, for example, in France, where there is a new draft decree that from July 2026, solar projects over 100 kilowatt peak must use resilient modules. And 2 years later, from 2028, they must use resilient modules and resilient cells. And to help with the extra costs, a bonus will be added to project price if they meet the resilience criteria. And another good example is the Piano Transizione 5.0 in Italy. This scheme was launched in 2024 under Italy's National Recovery and Resilience Plan. And it's a tax credit scheme which offers credits up to 45% of the investment costs if you invest in new technologies, including solar, that reduce the energy consumption. And for example, shortly after Italy increased the tax credits for EU-based PV production under the Transizione 5.0 scheme, Meyer Burger, for example, received the maximum subsidy under the scheme in collaboration with IBC Solar, supplying made in Germany modules in Italy.
Okay, so there are some positive steps. But I think, the picture that you painted, I think at our half-year sort of assessment is, there's some good points there, but it doesn't go to enough places and it doesn't go far enough financially. So what are these kind of missing steps that we want to fill in?
Yes, you're correct. We are on a good way, but still have to deliver. And we are asking also in our State of Play report for a set of demand finance push and demand pull measures. One thing is around the state aid. Right now, we are providing feedback to the questionnaire to the Clean Industrial State Aid Framework, where we would like to see operational costs covered and also to simplify access for companies.
And that's important because, state aid rules are the way that member states can directly finance industries that need it, right? And OPEX is important because we have high energy costs in Europe. And
correct. And the State of Play report actually showed that we had quite many state aid schemes that have been approved by the European Commission, I think up to 9, but none of that has been used for solar on the national level.
So it's not quite meeting the needs then.
Exactly.
And that's why we should go a little bit further perhaps in this in the review under the Clean Industrial Deal.
The other topic is on financing. So we would like to see the European Investment Bank to provide zero interest loans and also counter guarantees to unlock finance for solar projects, even for those that have been that won the Innovation Fund. That also brings us to the third request, that we would like to see the solar manufacturing facility under the Innovation Fund set up for solar, similar like the hydrogen bank works.
Which again, makes sense. You look at all of the different, we talk a lot about tech neutrality, but actually at a European level, there are plenty of funds that are tech specific. So you have the hydrogen fund, you have the chips fund, you have dedicated funding for wind and for batteries. So maybe a solar manufacturing facility isn't too far out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it's the next way to go. Yeah, and last but not least, we still would like to see a rapid implementation of the Net Zero Industry Act on national level.
Yeah. And then that's such a good point because the Net Zero Industry Act, it hit the rule books last year. Now we have the different implementing acts and things coming forward. So what is the timeline looking like for the Net Zero Industry Act and also for just upcoming legislative moves that might be able to help European manufacturers?
Yeah. So the implementing act on non-price criteria and renewable energy auctions and measuring resilience, that was one of the core work at the beginning of this year. We are expecting the public consultation to provide recommendations for the implementing act for minimum mandatory requirements in public procurement, also under the Net Zero Industry Act.
So many catchy names.
Absolutely, but you have to be precise.
It's very important. Yeah.
What you're looking for. Then we have a whole new topic with the introduction and then hold of the US tariffs and how this possibly could affect the solar sector in Europe. And EU countermeasures have been imposed on Monday and directly suspended and halted until July. So we are closely monitoring that. And last but not least, within the manufacturing work stream, we are running a manufacturing study over the course of this year, where we would like to explore simulation and gap analysis in order to meet the 30 gigawatt target under the Net Zero Industry Act until 2030, because we believe there's still some evidence. The Net Zero Industry Act missed an impact assessment across the entire solar value chain. And with that report, we will bring in a new discussion and new evidence of what is needed.
Yeah, set the pathway. Here's your 1, 2, 3, and we'll get to 30 gigawatts.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much for your insights today, Anett. I look forward to hearing more about this report once we get it over the line, get it published later this year. And we'll probably invite you back to tell us more about it then. But thanks so much for today.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Shine On Policycast. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get updates about new episodes. Shine on.